Got to talk about scandal, corporate corruption, fraud. It's a new Netflix docuseries uncovering it all.
Here with us this morning are the co-directors behind one of the investigations, Morgan Peckman and Dan DeMora. So good morning to both of you. And many of you would know you both from another documentary you did called Get Me Roger Stone, which we've paid close attention to since he's been arrested here. But let's talk about season 2 of Dirty Money, streams today. Tell us about this docuseries, why you chose to look specifically at Jared Kushner and following the money trail.
Well, I think by all accounts, Jared Kushner is the second most powerful person in the White House. And so not only does he have an enormous effect on shaping all of our lives and the policies that drive our country, he also has an enormous effect on shaping global policy. And so we wanted to take Jared's story, which is largely unknown.
I'm having a problem with your mic. Just hold that one.
Which, with Jared, there's even a running joke that nobody's ever heard his voice. And so this idea that he's so unknown, we wanted to see what his career was like before the White House to get a sense of who the man is who is shaping White House policy.
So the episode you directed is called Slumlord Millionaire. You guys co-directed that, and I think we have a clip. Let's take a look.
I approached Kushner companies to ask them about the way they were treating these tenants. They basically said, we have a fiduciary duty to our ownership partners to collect as much money as we possibly can.
It's kind of like a Goodfellas element for collection, like you lost your job, you pay me. Your wife got sick, you pay me. At the root of his business is this imbalance of power, this powerful, rich class, pretty much against working class people who are just getting by.
I think a lot of people here in New York, Dan, can understand landlords, right? So what did you learn about Jared Kushner's business practices and as a landlord?
Well, as Morgan was saying, we think it's important to understand how he ran Kushner companies as CEO because it gives us a window into how he might look at policy making decisions. So when we dug into it, we found that he is a landlord that many people do refer to as a slumlord, and has many practices that are very questionable ethically, and essentially one of his main tactics in New York is to buy rent stabilized buildings and do intrusive construction harassment to get tenants to move out of their stabilized apartments so they could then deregulate them and bring them up to market rate.
So in this episode, you also talked to the tenants who back up those claims, right?
Right. It was very important for us to understand how this affects the little guy. You know, when we look at policy on a national level, we rarely think about how regular people are affected. So we wanted to take that with Kushner companies and see how it affected the tenants. And, you know, it was striking how many of them kind of sang the same song about being harassed, being disrespected, and that was...
When you zero down and look at New York City particularly, we've had people like Richie Torres come on our show many times. He's a huge advocate for housing. You spoke to him in this episode here. So what was the reaction there from Richie Torres and others?
Well, you know, Richie and Congressman Torres and Aaron Carr, who runs the Housing Rights Initiative, they've done a tremendous amount of work in the city to kind of expose not just Kushner companies, but other predatory landlords and the effect they have on real New Yorkers who struggle, because as you know, we have an affordable housing crisis in the city, and their work is very important to exposing and challenging that.
Season 2 of Dirty Money streams on Netflix starting today. I recommend everybody watch this real quick. Morgan, you're our political expert. I got to get your take right now on what happened. We have about 20 seconds on what happened last night's primary. Joe Biden really surging ahead here. What is your prediction?
Yeah, really, there's no path to victory now for Bernie Sanders. I suspect that he will suspend his campaign soon, and we will see a two-man race
between Donald Trump and President Trump and Joe Biden.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you both. And powerful work you're doing. Again, that season 2 now streaming on Netflix. Highly